So basically, quick and dirty breakdown. Yes, Bungie has been accused of stealing art from, I think it might have been an independent artist, and they have riddled Marathon with this artist's stolen artwork. And the internet is basically going nuts over it, saying that basically Bungie stole all the artwork for Marathon from this artist, and like employee morale, yeah, like the entire fucking, it's not like a single poster here and there. It's apparently all the art in Marathon is stolen. All of it. And things at Bungie are going downhill fast. Oh, there's actually been a court case on it, Hackle? I wasn't aware there was a court case. Okay, let's jump into this. We're going to do it with YongYea because he usually is very informative about this. By the way, Leo, thank you for the gifted. And Corrigan, thank you for the follow. Welcome. So let's listen to YongYea because YongYea is usually quite informed and he brings receipts. So let's find out about the shitstorm that is Bungie right now.
Look, I don't know how else to put this. I think Marathon could be the death of Bungie. Prospects for the game already not looking good, given the level of investment that went into this game, the kind of reception it's been getting, the statistics showing how there's just a lack of interest and a lack of long-term sustainability when it comes to player retention, combined with this recent controversy with the plagiarism that has put people even more off to the game, paves the road for a recipe that spells disaster for Bungie. And if this game fails as epically as it seems like it might fail, if this becomes another Concord for Sony, and if Bungie just can't recover from this, then this could potentially spell doom for a studio that has a lot riding on the success of this game. So what I'm going to do in this...
Yeah, because leave us not forget, before these accusations came about, by the way, Nano, thank you for the follow. Before these accusations even came out, when Bungie launched their Marathon trailer, it received a middling response. People saw the trailer for Marathon and were just like, this doesn't look great. This basically looks bad. The art style was just kind of eh. And Bungie was already behind the 8 ball with Marathon with their trailer. And now they've got accusations that they basically stole artwork for their entire fucking game. Yeah, not only are they going to be taking a huge hit because this game is probably DOA, not only will they be taking a huge hit for the development, if this artist actually sues and wins, ruh-roh, they in for a whole lot of shit after that one. What do you mean Thor kind of killed any momentum they had? Huh? How do you mean, Atanashi? I don't understand what you mean. How did Thor kill any momentum that they might have had? Like, did he say it wasn't looking good when they first released the trailer, or was he talking about the allegations? Because I haven't actually followed anything Thor's done as of late, so I don't know what Thor said. He was supposed to... Oh, shit. He was supposed to stream the game for them? And let me guess, he said he dropped it. Okay, that's bad. If Thor dropped the game, that's fucking bad because he is a huge content creator in the game space. This is pretty fucking bad. Because he found out about the art. Yep.
Don't forget about Classic Marathon, now open source with over 100 maps as well as the recreated story of the original trilogy.
Dreamer, I will freely admit I am unfamiliar with the Classic Marathon. I do not know it, so I have no context for it. I'm working off of how did the game look in the trailer, the reports of the stolen art. That is what I am working with as of late. I can't say anything about the original Marathon because I don't know about it.
This video presents some more information about the whole plagiarism situation and what general sentiments are on social media. And then I'm also going to talk about this article from news outlet Forbes. Paul Tassi contacted some developers at Bungie to feel out the vibe at the studio, and it's not great. I'll go into further detail, but suffice to say that you've got quotes like how morale at the studio is in freefall. So that should give you some indication. It all comes down to this user right here, this artist, NT or Anti-Real, kind of spotlighting and exposing Bungie for what is very much blatant plagiarism and theft of art, highlighting how not only were specific fonts and words and literal copies of graphics were directly lifted from this artist's work into Marathon, and you can see right here, it's not even like they didn't even change the homework. There was no attempt to obfuscate and hide the fact that this was plagiarism. There's also the fact that this artist's logo literally made it into the game because they so one-to-one copied the graphics that this artist.
Oh my fucking God, I didn't even realize this. That his fucking there is no defense anymore. His logo literally got ported into the game from the stolen artwork because they just carte blanche took the stolen art and threw it all in. And they didn't even bother to go, oh yeah, that's his logo. Maybe we shouldn't pin in. They basically just tanked themselves in court. When the Arsafina, okay, so when she brings Bungie to court, one of you guys said that that this has already gone to court. I don't know if this has gone to court or not. If or when she brought them to court, here's your evidence. Her logo is literally on the art pieces that they stole. They are fucked. So not only are they going to lose money. Well, I imagine it's going to, Dreamer. Someone mentioned that it might have already gone to court. If it hasn't, I know it's going to. I know that this artist is going to be taking Bungie to court. Hands down. She will be taking them to court. But not only are they going to lose money on the game, because at this point, the game is behind the 8 ball. They're going to lose money. It's probably DOA. So not only are they going to lose the money due to the development of the game that bombs, how many millions are they going to have to pay out? How many millions are they going to have to pay out to this artist because they stole her artwork? Golden Dragon, I think it's a pretty safe assumption. She has already contacted a lawyer, and motions are probably already being written up to be filed. That is what I imagine is happening. If it has not already made it into court for initial proceedings, the paperwork is being drawn up as we speak. I have no doubt of that.
Created. And then beyond that, there's just this general sentiment that the vibe of Marathon was directly influenced by this artist's work. Now, graphic realism is nothing new to Marathon or the artist, but there's just a very specific way that this artist is doing graphic realism in terms of the specific shapes and palettes and
Edge of Fate
designs.
I don't know about that.
It feels like Marathon's identity is kind of,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I do not doubt that Bungie will settle out of court, but I'm also talking about how much money they're going to lose by selling out of court. They will settle out of court for millions. This artist is going to get millions from Bungie, even settling out of court. And that's on top of the tens or hundreds of millions of dollars that they've already spent on Marathon, which will now tank because of this. Okay, so so Eki, are you boycotting Bungie now? Out of curiosity? You're not buying Edge of Fate? Out of curiosity, Eki, with this news, do you still play Destiny? Or you're boycotting Destiny? Okay, good. I respect that. Eki. You are standing by, the principle saying, Bungie screw over an artist, I'm not buying your DLC, and I'm not playing your game. I'll respect that. And I imagine you may not be alone in that either. I imagine that they are going to see... I have to imagine that Bungie is now going to be seeing massive player drops on the Destiny 2 Platinum. it's like the player base is going to drop off. People are not going to be buying, their in-game currency. They're not going to be buying their DLCs. Like, I don't know if this is going to be a death blow for Bungie as a company. It's definitely going to bitch slap the fuck out of them. And that you can be sure of. Really, Natalie, so you didn't know that Bungie was the people that originally did Halo and that they did Destiny. So you knew the games, you just didn't know the company behind the development of it, which is fine. This is fair. I mean, you're not going to know the development of every game that you play. It's perfectly understandable. That's what I also heard as well, Cortana. It did turn into microtransaction hell.
Designs that it feels like Marathon's identity is kind of, in large part based on that artist's work. It was in large part inspired by that artist. But then you combine that with a direct lifting of assets. And that's when you get a scenario where nobody trusts Bungie when they say that it was just specific graphics that were used. A lot of people just don't believe that, especially when you look at the artist's, past works and you look at some of these graphics and the palette here and how closely it resembles what Marathon is going for. It just creates a scenario where a lot of people just don't trust Bungie, regardless of what they insinuate or what they say about how the art style of Marathon paints.
Really? I don't care about the Castle Blaze and force PvP on PvP. Okay. Well, Moose, from what I've heard, like, Destiny is going downhill. Destiny 2 is going downhill. It's basically pay to win, kind of, and Eki said it himself. It's like Destiny is not great anymore. Hasn't been for quite some time. And hi, Corrigan. Hello.
To be because it doesn't change the fact
Corrigan.
that artwork was stolen. That is factually correct. And then another layer on top of that is the way Bungie features this reference to a webcomic called Loss. And back in 2000...
Wait. That flipped by so quickly I missed it. Hang on. What? I had Loss in my design 6 years ago and nobody caught on. Huh? I'm confused. I'm a little confused. Can somebody help me out? I'm a little confused by what this means. Is this supposed to be like LOSS? Is that what 6522 is supposed to be? No, Derek, no, I have not seen the Lost comic. That's probably why I'm not understanding.
Tells you how much I played. I allotted the same amount of time on Warframe as Destiny 2.
Oh yeah, like Eki, I'm sure you probably I've rated a couple of your streams where you were playing Destiny. I know you put time into it. Yeah, it looks like it's more art theft. Yeah. Okay, Derek, I might look up that later.
And back in 2024, this artist posted about how they hid a reference to Loss. I hid Loss in my design 6 years ago and nobody caught on. Well, funnily enough, Marathon features a reference to Loss. It's just something that's very random for a Marathon to feature. And when you look at how this might potentially be connected to the artist having a Loss reference, it all further paves the road to the belief that Bungie just very directly copied the artist's work. A lot of people feel like this is just incredibly...
Okay, so it's this. It's this right here that is in reference to referring to Loss. Okay, I thought it was talking about the numbers here. You're talking about this, like the way that this design is right here is a reference to Loss. Okay, I understand now. Gotcha.
Blatant at this point when even the references that are in the game are identical to what the artist did. And so you've got Marathon Bulletin going, come on, man, are you serious? And this is garnering, tens of thousands of likes and hundreds of thousands of views. So this is as bad a situation can get. This is one of the worst cases of plagiarism I've seen in all of gaming, and there have been quite a few. There's just this general sentiment that when it comes to visual language and the overall aesthetic of Marathon, especially where graphics are concerned, color palettes are concerned, a lot of that feels like it can be attributed to the artist who has accused them, rightfully so, of plagiarism. And so a lot of people are saying that the aesthetic, which is the one thing that Marathon had going for, because the gameplay is just something that's been getting mixed results in terms of feedback, that one thing that people thought at least that's cool, turns out so much of that.
Look at this person, Queen's Hunchback. None of that is a rebuttal. Stop pretending this girl designed a game over little fonts and wall pictures. Really? This person is going to look at all of this evidence that is in the Marathon game that this artist designed years before, I don't even know how many years before Marathon, that is in Marathon the game, and this guy is going to say, stop pretending this girl designed a game over little fonts and wall pictures. Really? Fucking really? These are people that will just stick their head in the sand, put their fingers in the ears, and go, la 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 la, I can't hear you, la 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 la. Marathon is great, la 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 la. Let me suck on Bungie's dick some more, la 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 la. That's what these kind of people are. And thank you, Gengar.
Is lifted from the original artist, and a lot of people just can't feel like they can trust when they look at Marathon how much of it was truly Bungie's own inspirations versus how much of that they just directly lifted from the artist. So it's just a damn shame to be in this situation, especially when Bungie already had so much going against it. Now, this artist doesn't just make graphics. Turns out this artist also does music, and there's suspicions now.
Oh, you got some more tea for me, Durahan? Last year, they copied an artist's designs for a Nerf gun in a case that was eventually resolved. In 2023, they copied a design by digital artist Julian Felona for a Destiny 2 cutscene, and in 2021, they used a fan's art in a trailer without asking. Bungie also still face a copyright lawsuit by a writer who alleges the game's Red War storyline stole from his ideas. Fuck. Holy hell. Yeah, Bungie is fucking up 6 ways to Sunday here. And I think it's legitimately questionable if they're going to come back from it. And thank you, Doc, for the tier 1. It's not just visual art, it's audio art too. He may go into that here. Yeah. It didn't stop at her posters. They deliberately co-opted her design language and musical style. They stole her entire creative identity. Yeah, Marathon, I guess she did music too. And they literally stole her musical style to put in the game. They stole everything. They literally, the people behind Marathon literally took her stuff and did copy-paste. It's insane.
Now, there wasn't just her design language from her art that was lifted by Bungie into Marathon, but also her musical style. You can go to SoundCloud right now. Not only...
Wait! Doc! Did you just have your 1-year anniversary? Did you really just have your 1-year anniversary? I had no idea! Oh my god, when was it? Atanashi, when did Doc have the... When? When was this? When? Just now? Oh, no! Oh my god! You had your 1-year anniversary while streaming? Oh my god, I'm so sorry I missed it, Doc! Oh, I'm so sorry I missed it! Congratulations, Doc, on 1 year! No? No? You... Oh... I might have misunderstood. I might have I might have misunderstood the reference to the 1 year. Is that okay? Well, thank you for subscribing to me for 1 year, Doc. Thank you. I made a mistake. I made a little mistake. But Doc, thank you for being with me for this 1 year like this. Thank you so very much. Mwah. I truly appreciate it.
Lifted by Bungie into Marathon, but also her musical style. You can go to SoundCloud right now. Not only does it feature Aleph, a word that is now prominently featured within Marathon because this was literally directly copied and pasted. Some people claim that listening to these tracks, it just evokes some semblance of that Marathon vibe. I'll go ahead and link to the SoundCloud page in the description below so you can listen to the music yourself. I don't want to play
that sounds about right, Durahan. That's kind of figured where they were at.
Is kind of flaky on this platform. But yeah, matters aren't helped by the fact that this isn't the first time that Bungie has been caught plagiarizing. There's this incident from September of 2024 where Bungie implemented a gun design that was directly lifted from a commission that artist Tofu Bunny did, and so they had to apologize for that and compensate the artist.
Okay. So the Nerf Ace of Spades directly lifts a commission I did in 2015. This is not similar coincidence. You can see my same brush strokes and scratches, smudges. Yeah. Wow. Bungie done fucking up. Bungie done, like, at this point, Bungie is just stealing from everybody to make their shit. They're literally stealing from everyone to make their shit up. Well, this is not good. Like, yeah, look at the heart on the handle. The end cap with the slashes. The rounded designs here. The lines here. Like, for God's sake. All they're doing is using stolen art in fucking everything. They're stealing art for their entire thing. They are literally a company riding on theft. No, Anubis, because Selena Kyle is actually sexy as fuck, and I would love to have her tying me up with her whip and doing all sorts of naughty things to me. I don't want Bungie to do that. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? Goodness me. Anyway, moving on, chat.
And reach out to them and all that stuff. And this has happened time and again and again and again. Same goes for this instance right here. There's this instance right here where people notice just stark similarities between something Bungie implemented officially into the game.
This is beyond lazy. This is getting beyond lazy. This is Bungie has lost all of its creativity. And instead of trying to bring on creative people and trying to do something new.
While as bad as this is, I don't believe in boycott the game. The staff are only doing what the higher-ups told them to do. It's not fair on the actual team who works on the game, who love the game and want the best for the fan base.
Heckle, I will offer a counterpoint because we don't know. At least to my understanding, we do not know if the higher-ups told them to do this, or if the artists were so dry of ideas and so talented that they saw this and said, cool, we'll use this and we'll just claim it's ours. I'm not prepared right now to say that the lower echelon was only doing as was instructed by the higher echelon. There is a legit possibility that the artists working on the game were the ones to do the theft, and the higher-ups may not have had any idea about it. That is absolutely a possibility that needs to be considered until we hear otherwise. Unless we see evidence to the contrary, that it was indeed the higher-ups that said, put this in the game, and not the artists themselves that basically were like, I got nothing, so I'm just going to go steal this artist designs because they look really great and they'd work well in Marathon. That is absolutely a possibility.
Some fan art, so on and so forth, and this was later confirmed, and they had to reach out to the artist. Time and again, this has continued to happen, and there comes a point where this just becomes inexcusable, especially when it happens to the degree that it has with Marathon. So what's happened since this whole situation blew up? Well, Marathon developers did go on stream about a day ago, and this did not go very well, as you can see right here. Not only was the stream quality very poor, in large part because they just couldn't show gameplay due to plagiarism accusations that they have to deal with. So showing gameplay could put them more at risk. So this was just all essentially a developer chat. They did it also.
Well, okay. Devil himself, that is a fair point. That artists artists may learn by tracing other art with tips and tricks. That is a valid point. The problem is, you do that to learn and develop your own art. You don't do that and then use it in a multi-million-dollar game. There's a difference. There's a difference between tracing other people's art and using it to refine your own style. So it's your own style, and basically literally doing Control-C, Control-V on someone else's art and sticking it into your video game. Those are two very different things. So, yeah.
So address the controversy surrounding the plagiarism, and they basically said what they already said in a previous statement. This is the official statement from the Marathon Dev Team Twitter page, Twitter account, where they said that it was a former Bungie artist who included these textures in a sheet that was ultimately used in-game. They basically blame a former employee who decided to rip art from this artist and then not tell the rest of Bungie about it. So
so they've already found the scapegoat. They have already found their one scapegoat of a former Bungie artist. The issue was unknown by our existing art team. Yeah, they are backpedaling and eating shit so fucking fast. It's not even funny. And it's not going to save them. They're thinking that if they put this out and they just go, oh, it was an ex-employee who put it on a texture sheet that was being used by our current artists. There's too much. It's not just a texture sheet. It's also the music is basically this artist's entire art style. Did this former Bungie artist say it was his own artwork? Yeah, well, and again, I'm not 100% buying that it was a single former Bungie artist that did this and put it on a texture sheet that was used by his or her former coworkers. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. The video game industry has gotten so fucking corrupt and money hungry, I don't fucking buy it. Until there's an investigation in the matter, I don't believe a fucking thing that they're saying. I don't fucking believe it. This is them trying to backpedal, eat shit, and try and cover their ass. And they're essentially trying to cover their mile-wide ass with a single piece of single-ply toilet paper. It isn't going to work. And now Andrea said that Bungie's blaming us. Yeah, they're gonna try and blame everyone except them, because they are desperately trying to stave off a lawsuit. Because if this artist does file a lawsuit, it could end Bungie. Marathon as a game was already good, poorly received as is. It's probably going to be, it was very likely going to only be received to middling responses as already. This scandal is going to fucking DOA it. People will have no faith in Bungie as a company anymore, that they're going to be saying, how much more shit has Bungie stolen for both their past games and future games? So trust in the company is fucking gone. And they are going to be taking such a financial hit, you have to wonder, is Bungie as a company going to be shuttered after this, because they are going to be sustaining massive levels of financial loss after all of this? They've already had to pay out multiple lawsuits for plagiarism before. Now you've got this one on their new Marathon game, that they've been trying to hype up is, could this kill Bungie, I wonder?
About it, so this seemingly flew under the radar for Bungie, and this came as a surprise to them. In the stream, the developers also claimed that it was just specific decals, specific graphics that were lifted, but that the whole visual style of Marathon wasn't ripped from that artist, and that it was just their own take on this graphic realism style of visual aesthetic. But there's just this level of distrust because of how blatantly stuff was lifted from the original artist, that a lot of people still think that the entire identity of Marathon, the soul of Marathon, is her entire portfolio. They said, we'd love to work with her, reads this one tweet. Yeah, no shit, she's your art director at this point, bro. It's kind of the accusation that's being levied. Again, you can't own an art style, but there's just something very morally reprehensible about taking somebody's very specific take on that art style and implementing so much of that into your game, and then directly lifting their assets and then not give them credit, not give them compensation, and then trying to get away with that. Suffice to say that Bungie's response, both on Twitter and on the live stream itself, has not been satisfactory. In fact, on the stream itself, you can see that people were flooding.
Oh my God. Okay, hang on. I will shift slightly because look at that. Just look at that. Plagiarism will make me God. Plagiarism will make me God. Damn, this community is the worst. Choke on your heinous. Oh my God. You can't, okay, you can't see it because you guys are in the way. I'm going to shift you guys over slightly because you're going to want to see this. So, look at this. Plagiarism will make me God over and over and over again. And then you have the Bungie dick suckers here. What a kindergarten. Jesus. Damn, this community is the worst. Choke on your heinous comments. This one says bye-bye, Bungie. And then a whole shitload of plagiarism will make you God. But you still have the little schwarping glorpers here. They're going, why are you being so mean to Bungie? Stop being mean to Bungie. We still want to suck their dick some more. Just shut up. They're going to lose their heart on. Leave them alone. We want that heart Bungie dick. And look at the face. Actually, I'm in the way of his face now. Look at this man's face. This is a face of a man. This is a face of a man with this running on loop through his head.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
That is running on a continuous loop in this man's head right now. And no, Bungie is not going to exist the way it has been after this. There is going to be layoffs. Hell, I think YongYea is going to get into this, that morale at Bungie is at an all-time low right now. Everybody at Bungie the morale is at an all-time low, probably because they know that the layoffs are coming. They know that layoffs are coming and they're on thin ice.
The chat with plagiarism will make me God, which is a modified version of the Marathon quote, escape will make me God. Others were flooding the chat with Concord 2.
Oh, here we go. Let's see. Arc Raiders is genius. You can see it on his face. What I said. You can see it on his face. Man's over it and cooked. Charlie Brown's teacher be talking just womp, womp, womp. Chat. It was a womp, womp moment. This is rough. This is just embarrassing. Here, just copy my homework. Change it. Someone's saying change the sub-only chat. You guys are not the something of Halo. Joseph, blink twice if you need help. This stream is bullshit. Game died before it came out. Concord 2. They're fucking done. They are cooked.
Because this feels like it could be another Concord in the sense of it was already on
Andrea?
murky waters when it comes
surprised.
to people's interest in the game. And now, given the bad will that this whole plagiarism situation has generated, given how gross the situation is, this cloud looming over the game's entire launch, essentially, which is happening in September, in the not so distant future. The general sentiment is that if this live service wasn't going to fail before because of a lack of general interest, now you've got just a lack of support from the community because so much of this is reprehensible. Yep. And so the chances of this game becoming another Concord, where it just flops at launch so badly that it has no chance of recovery and will be very short-lived as a live service, the chances of that have increased by quite a bit. You're seeing a lot of sentiments like this where people are talking about how the direction of the game was already weird, making it an extraction shooter. But now, the one thing that the game actually had going for it, the art style and the visuals and its unique aesthetic, turns out that part is stolen or is being perceived as so much of it being taken directly from the original.
Yeah. Like he was saying, like this tweet has said, people were already just kind of bad about the fact that Marathon was an extraction shooter. Like, nobody gives a shit about extraction shooters anymore. It like that is a genre that people are pretty much done with. The extraction shooter concept. Nobody really fucking cares anymore. And I guess the one thing it had going for was with the art style and visuals. Okay, so quick and dirty, an extraction shooter it's basically an arena shooter game, but your whole purpose is to get in, loot as much as you can, and get to an extraction point and get out, and usually it's like PvP. That's what an extraction shooter is. Yeah, Tarkov is the premier example of what an extraction shooter is, where you drop into a zone. Your whole thing is to run around, grab loot, kill bad guys, and get to an extraction point to exit the match with all of your loot in tow. If you die, then you don't get that loot. And you have to start over and do another thing. And the concept of the extraction shooter is done. Well, I mean, an extraction shooter is not the same thing as a looter shooter. There is some basic premise in that you are going for loot, but extraction is you're in a much more confined space. And, in a broad scope kind of way, kinda. Very broad scope. You're in a confined arena. It's not an open world. You're in a more confined arena-like space. You're running around trying to find like better guns, better equipment that you can take with you. And at the same time, you're trying to kill other players and you're trying to get to an extraction point to finish the match and get out of there with all of your pretty new gear. That's it. That's what an extraction shooter is.
Artists. A lot of people are seeing this as the perfect recipe for an epic film.
Oh, and what I was going to say is this thing, the only thing it had going for it was the art style and visuals. I would argue that there may not have been all that much hype for the art style and visuals realistically. There were some people like, okay, the art style looks interesting, but I don't know if you could actually say that people were like, oh, the art style is so good, I can't wait for this. And they were like gushing over it due to the art style. I don't really think there were that many people going mad over Marathon's art style. It was just like, okay, it's okay and kind of interesting, but like Thor might have been interested in it. But I don't think it was like, I don't think there was a great deal of anticipation because of the art style. Realistically, I don't think there was. Yeah, Helldivers is effectively speaking. Well, I don't know if it can be considered I don't think Helldivers could be an extraction shooter because Helldivers, you're diving in and you have specific missions you have to accomplish. Extraction shooters is you're just going around looting whatever the hell you can. There's no overarching, okay, you are going into this location specifically to do this job and this job. It's not quite the same. There's similarities to be sure, but I wouldn't quantify Helldivers as an extraction shooter. I don't feel comfortable quantifying it in that space. Exactly.
taken directly from the original artist. A lot of people are seeing this as the perfect recipe for an
Daisy,
epic
that's
failure.
a good one, Rob.
It's tough enough to release a new live service in this oversaturated market, but under these circumstances, there's very little hope of Bungie. There's just very little hope for Bungie making Marathon the massive success that Destiny was. All right, so that kind of brings us up to speed on what people are saying about the plagiarism situation, what new developments there have been. Now let's talk about this report from Faltassi, who published the following article via news outlet Forbes. The headline reads, New Marathon Info, Bungie morale, launch worries, and changing plans. Paul Tassi being connected with a lot of folks at Bungie who have spoken anonymously. He discovered some information that paints a rather grim picture for not just Marathon, but for Bungie as a whole. Now, in terms of how the company is kind of approaching things internally, in terms of how this whole plagiarism situation happened, they're basically telling their employees what they've told the public, which is that it was one employee from back in 2020 who stole some assets and ripped some stuff and did not tell Bungie about it and caught Bungie off guard. And
I still don't believe it.
Essentially,
I still don't believe it was one employee. I've spoken to some current former employees about Bungie's excuse for the art theft. Public explanation for the art theft, one ex-employee taking things in 2020 is the same one being given internally at Bungie among the rank and file. And how many of the rank and file are actually in on this? Like, do I think that all of the rank and file of Bungie are in on this? No. No, I certainly do not. I definitely think it was more than one employee. It was absolutely more than one employee that was involved in this. Not a single ex-employee. That single ex-employee worked in conjunction with other artists, and I think this was a group of artists that did this. 100%. Yeah, this was not the work of one. Yeah, there's probably a reasonable amount of people amongst the art staff that were not involved in this, but there was at least a team involved in this art theft. It was not one guy. This was not the work of one person. It's not clear how long an audit will take of the assets to remove or find any more plagiarisms. Yeah, if they remove all the plagiarisms, they're gonna have to remake the game from fucking scratch. That's the crazy thing. Removing all instances of plagiarism, they're literally going to have to redesign the game from the goddamn ground up at this point. This is like, okay, I'll hold until the end here, but morale is in a free fall across all departments. The vibes have never been worse because everybody knows they're going to get fired.
Prior to this coming out, every single member of Marathon's art team followed the artist whose art was stolen. So they all had to know from the word go.
There you go, Andrea. Yeah. Okay, so if every team followed the artists, they knew. Yeah. So again, lends credence to what I'm saying of this was not one person. They're trying to blame it on one person because they're an ex-employee and they're desperate to try and mitigate their losses. Just ain't one person. It's at least a team. And morale is in free fall because they know the layoffs are incoming. They know that this just killed the game. Bungie is going to be losing probably hundreds of millions of dollars. And layoffs are inbound. And nobody knows who's safe. Concerns about what happens to Bungie as the studio of Marathon bombs, it's something they absolutely cannot afford. Yeah, it could close down Bungie. Well, Delish, there is no evidence. We have not seen evidence, but the entire team followed this artist that got stolen from. So it's a pretty fair bet that the entire team was in on it. That is the suspicion. It is a suspicion. It is not fact. We don't have any evidence to substantiate it right now. But the circumstantial evidence is certainly shaping up to look like it. Circumstantially. They're not even hints or jokes. Oh, fuck. There's not even hints or joke and delay. Unclear with the plans to launch the game in a now actively hostile environment. So they're supposed to launch in a couple months, but they're also planning to remove assets found with plagiarism, which is probably going to be a huge chunk of the fucking game. This is going to be a big chunk of the fucking game, and they're still planning on launching in a couple months. If this is true, they are going to crunch the absolute shit out of their artists to get them to remove. If they don't change the release date, it will crunch the ever-living fuck out of their artists trying to remove and replace any plagiarism. Because, leave us not forget, they not only need to remove the assets that are plagiarized, they have to create new ones. They will need to actually create new assets to replace all the ones that they're ripping. And since they plagiarized them in the first place, because presumably they are completely out of ideas and they don't have a drop of creativity left, what the fuck are they going to make to replace them? You know? I don't see how they could release in a few months. And if they do still try and fire it off in a couple months, it's going to bomb even harder. Even harder, because it will be an unfinished game.
In jeopardy.
Thank you,
there's
Dark
also this
King,
audit going on, which is why they're not showing gameplay right now and why so much of their marketing plans have changed, because they can't market something that may feature essentially plagiarized assets. And so it's not clear how long an audit will take of the assets to remove or find any more plagiarism, but they have to comb through the entire game and ensure that nothing directly lifted from the original artist is featured in any future marketing material, as to potentially avoid litigation.
Also true, Darahan. That is also
here's
true.
The thing. Regardless of what they remove, the overall art style of the game will feel stolen to a lot of people, because there's just going to be a level of uncertainty of how much is directly lifted from the original artist. And
not only that, people are going to be questioning, even if Bungie is able to excise the plagiarized art from the game and the plagiarized assets from the game, even if Bungie is able to do that, you know what the player base is going to be thinking anyway? Okay, they removed this artist's art from the game. How much more art is in the rest of the game that is stolen? That thought is going to be prevalent with everyone. Even after removing the stolen art, people are now going to be questioning how much of the other art that is still in the game was stolen from another artist that simply hasn't come forward yet and said, hey, that's my art. This is like two ginormous black eyes for Bungie that I honestly don't know how they're going to recover from. Yeah, what's going to happen is people will be combing through the game not to see if it's a fun game. There will people literally be headhunting for stolen art in the game. People are not going to play the game to play the game. They're going to actively be playing the game looking for stolen art. That's not why you want people to buy a game.
And how much isn't, especially because the cases of plagiarism have been continuous and repetitive. And so, yeah, trust is just gone as far as Marathon's aesthetic and their claim that this was their idea.
Bungie could get shut down.
How much of it was unique to them.
Very
as far
realistic.
as that's concerned, they're cooked. Now, this is where prospects get really grim. Morale within Bungie apparently is in free fall across all departments. As a lot of people are feeling that this game was already precarious in terms of the reception surrounding it, but now I think developers are feeling the likelihood that this game will bomb if it launches in September without a delay, without reparations being made, and without some kind of drastic change that will allow this to make a...
Wormos, what do you mean they stole content we paid for by vaulting it? Are you talking about that there was content that was in a game at the time of purchase and then afterwards they locked it behind a paywall? Is that what you're referring to? Like when the game initially launched, there was this content, and then Bungie didn't update and ripped that content and put it. Really? Fucking hell. Honestly, with all the L's Bungie is taking, I'm actually a little surprised that they're still open at this point. Well, Slagette, they're going to end up trying to pay her off. They are. And my guess is maybe the artist will take a settlement if it's juicy enough. But the damage is not only financial. That's the thing here. Bungie's damage is not only in a financial, it's also a sociological. Because now, nobody's going to trust Bungie. Every game, people are going to be going, what shit did Bungie steal from someone to make this game? And so their reputation is in the goddamn toilet.
Come back. And then beyond that, there are concerns about what happens should Marathon bomb. So the fact that the prospects of Marathon bombing are being talked about at all within the development studio.
Wait. Curse of Osiris, Warmind, and the Forsaken, they completely remove them from the game? Why? Why the fuck would they rip out that level of content from Destiny? That they already released. Why in God's name would they do that? I don't know if to save space? Taking up too much space. No. I don't buy it. This is fucking Bungie. They've got the server space. Okay? It doesn't cost that much to have the server space. Hello, Wedge. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Prospects of Marathon bombing are being talked about at.
Wait. They changed engines? The DLC won't work with the current engine. Really? They changed engines in Destiny. I don't know about that. I don't know. Okay. In other words, so long and short of it, Bungie is a scummy company that we should avoid at all costs. Easy. Tied evidence of them stealing the storyline from the guy who went from the core. Oh, really, KLH? Oh. Yeah, okay, so basically, it's just evidence stacking on top of evidence, stacking on top of evidence that all Bungie does is steal content for their games.
Marathon bomb. So the fact that the prospects of Marathon bombing are being talked about at all within the development studio highlights a level of confidence that does not exist for Marathon, for developers who feel like the direction of the game is just not something that is going to appeal to a lot of people. And then this plagiarism situation is further going to push away the fan base and the community. And the thing is, there is an excerpt here about how as far as 5 years ago, developers were telling leadership at Bungie what would and wouldn't work and were often ignored. Many have said previously that it needed to have some sort of PvE component, which is so much of what made Destiny a success and what made Destiny so appealing. Marathon is, well, it has, it is PvPvE. Primarily, it is a game where you play kind of competitively. It is an extraction shooter. It does not have that level of like immersing yourself in an open world. With a few loading screens here and there, but open spaces where you can really kind of engage in a cooperative way, in a way where you feel like you can like run into people, and in a way where it feels like this communal shared world. This is not that. This is, one of those more PvP style kind of game formats with some PvPvE components where you go to a lobby where you, match make, and then you go in, do the thing, pull out, extract yourself, and repeat that cycle with the threat of losing your equipment should you die kind of being the overall looming threat. And so the direction of the game was something that developers were already not feeling. They're already making suggestions, even as far as 5 years ago, of like what direction the game should take. They were not listened to, and the end result is a game that a lot of people are just finding rather uninteresting. And the thing is, Bungie is not immune to failing in the live service space. You know, just because they made Destiny doesn't mean that they can't launch a game like Marathon that feels
Correct.
just kind of a little behind the times,
Yep.
or, you know, feels like it's coming a little too late, especially when other extraction shooters are far more established, far more fleshed out, far more feature complete.
Yeah.
And
that's what I was saying, like, when it came out that it was an extraction shooter, people were like, you know, extraction shooters are not popular anymore. People really don't care about extraction shooters. They got their fill with Tarkov. There was that one extraction shooter that came out that was an unmitigated fucking mess. That was basically a scam. For the life of me, I forget what it was called. It was that zombie game that was originally supposed to be open world, and they lied to their backers, and they turned it into a, quote, extraction shooter, and it was an absolute fucking mess, and the studio shut down like 2 weeks after it launched. Not 7 Days to Die. No. Not that gray matter. No. We watched a Big Boss video on it. I forget the name of the game, but it was, The Day After. The Day After. That's what I'm thinking of. It was called, was it The Day Before? I thought it was called The Day After. Maybe it was called The Day Before. It's either Day Before or Day After. I forget which. It was a scam, but that was an extraction shooter. Like, extraction shooters outside of Tarkov, and even Tarkov has been having issues with scamming their players. Extraction shooters are not a really sought after genre right now. So the Division one, that was an extraction arena within the overall game, Druid. So that's different. The Division was an open world, city-sized sandbox that had an extraction zone that you could participate in if you wanted. So that's different. That's a bit different. The entire game was not a dark zone. So little different thing.
far more appealing. And
Brevin,
so what they have to do with Marathon is release an extraction shooter that feels better than the ones that are the norm, than the ones that people favor. But Marathon just looks at like just the worst version of the extraction shooters that exist, on top of the fact that it's not appealing to Bungie fans who are more fans of stuff like Destiny, more kind of PvE with competitive elements rather than PvP with some PvE elements, stuff that more leans towards PvE. That's what people are expecting from Bungie, and this extraction shooter, this Marathon game just isn't that. So already this feels like a game that appeals to no one. Extraction shooters aren't impressed and Bungie fans aren't impressed. And now this plagiarism situation means that people will not give this game the benefit of the doubt because they're disgusted by the practices on display. And so yeah, I do think developers do need to consider the possibility that this game will bomb. They need to consider what things will look like for the studio when that happens, with so much money, time being invested into this game, with so many resources going into this project. All of that being for naught will be something that they'll have to consider. There will be a significant impact should that happen, and there is definitely a non-zero chance, in fact, a pretty good chance of that kind of being the course that this takes. Something else that was highlighted by the Forbes article is that there's been no talks of a delay, while Forbes does believe, Paul Tassi does believe that those conversations are happening between Sony higher-ups and Bungie leadership. Currently, there is no clear, concrete plan when it comes to whether they want to push the game back. And that's something that has kind of become the general recommendation even before the plagiarism controversy cropped up. A lot of people who play the game have straight up said that there's just not enough content here to justify the fact that this is a paid product, the fact that they're charging, what was it, I think $40 for this game. The meat just isn't there. They should make this game free to play if they want to have any chance of it garnering a good audience base that they can then kind of nurture, because... making it free to play is not going to do them any good, honestly. Even if they made it free to play, no one's going to spend money on it. You're going to get some, yes, you will get some diehard Bungie fans that will go in there and spend money on the microtransactions. But for the most part, yeah, even if they made it free to play, Bungie will not make money off it because they will not participate in the microtransactions. You might have some that play it just out of like, okay, I'm kind of curious.
to see what it's like. And since I don't have to spend any money on it, I'll take a look at it. But they won't spend any money on it in-game for microtransactions. And yeah, I know Destiny 2 went free to play. Destiny did not start as free to play. Destiny started as paid, along with I think 1 or 2 of the DLCs. And then it went free to play. I want to say after the Warmind expansion, possibly before. I don't remember exactly. But it was not originally free to play. It transitioned into that model, so then they could microtransaction the fuck out of people. Yeah, they did it free to play, but you still have to pay for all of the DLC. If you want to actually really advance, you got to pay for it. Yeah, they basically nickel and dime the fuck out of you now. And honestly, if Marathon goes free to play, it's not going to save them. It's not going to save them. It was after the Witch Queen. Okay, that's when it went free to play. But Marathon going free to play from the start will not fix anything, because no one is going to pay for any of the microtransactions in this game. They might play for curiosity, or if they go free to play, the majority of the players are going to be running around looking for stolen art, like I was saying. That is what the majority of people will be doing if it goes free to play. They will run around in the game trying to see if they can locate more stolen assets. I will guarantee you that. It's not going to make money. This game is going to fucking bomb. And you're either going to see massive levels of layoffs at Bungie, or Bungie itself may very well close down. That is a very real fucking possibility.
What is here? It's not a fun enough extraction shooter. The content that is on display isn't extensive enough. The volume and density of content just isn't there to justify that price point. Combined with a game that does not appeal to a lot of people, does not appeal to extraction shooter fans because they've already got stuff that's better, doesn't appeal to Bungie fans because this is not the type of game that Bungie fans like to play. And so the sentiment is delay this game so you can add more content and overhaul aspects of it to make it more appealing, because otherwise this feels like a doomed launch if you rush this thing out. And so yeah, that's kind of where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. Things could not be worse for Marathon, and in turn things could not be worse for Bungie. I think we are at a crossroads right now, and what Bungie does from here on out will define, I think, the fate of the entire studio. I do think that if Marathon bombs on a level that is akin to Concord or even anything close to it, if it just bombs in general, and if they're forced to shut this down unceremoniously early in its life cycle, as many live services have had to because of just how the prospects of it making a comeback have been minuscule.
Yeah.
If that is the course that Marathon is taking, then Bungie is in serious trouble as a studio, and Sony itself will have to reconsider a lot of their plans. They made commitments previously of shipping just tons of live services within the span of just a few years, and we've already seen signs of them vastly reconsider that plan, especially with Concord.
Heckle, I think it's not they're in danger of Sony fully stepping in and taking full control. I think Bungie is so far gone at this point that Sony may step in and shut them down. Realistically, I don't think Sony's going to bother with taking full control. I think they're going to cut their losses. Sony will sell the IPs and they will shutter Bungie. Because Bungie only has a handful of IPs that it can sell. If they sell their IPs, they don't have anything. And so what'll happen is if Sony does decide to go the route of selling the IPs, they will shutter Bungie and then sell the IPs. That would be my guess. I don't know if Bungie's gonna be safe after this one.
Its failure, putting a massive dent in their pocket. Bungie failing, when they bought Bungie for the sole purpose of leading this live service charge. If Bungie fails with Marathon, then yeah, there are going to have to be some serious talks about the fate of Bungie and about the fate of Sony's live service plans, which I hope will be entirely eradicated so that Sony and PlayStation can focus on what they do best, which is story-driven, single-player campaign experiences. And if they add some multiplayer elements on top of that, then great. Or if they want to pursue live services and multiplayer games, if they come up with something inspired, then great. But this whole trend chasing, which is kind of what Bungie is doing right now, which is a shame to see, because Bungie, once upon a time, set the bar. You know, like Destiny set the bar for shared world
the mighty
shooters
have
or shooter
fallen.
looters. Now to see him kind of not setting new bars and setting new trends, but chasing after extraction shooters and not executing well on that front, and then kind of wrapping themselves up in controversy with blatant plagiarism that is just shameful. It all culminates in what is, I think, some very grim and dire prospects for Marathon and Bungie as a whole. And I anticipate that this project will fail, and I think Bungie will have a lot to do and quite the uphill battle to walk to make any kind of comeback. But I just don't see a comeback pathway here. This is just too fucked. How badly they've messed up the marketing, and then just again the direction of the game not being ideal, and then the controversies being as big as they are. Or at the very least, that's one man's take, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts and opinions are on the state of Bungie in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about Marathon and its prospects in the comments below. Do you think there's a chance for them to kind of pull this together, or do you think this is doomed to fail? Do you think the writing is on the wall? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on YongYea. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.
Yeah, I think Bungie is fucked. I think Bungie at this point is royally fucked. I do not know how they're going to come back from this.